first step is organization has to understand their own values, and then they have to go out and hire people with the similar values.
Okay.
So there'll be less conflict in the relationship. So you do not know your values, so it's going to be like hit and trial. So you do not know your values, you hire somebody, now they may or may not match your values. Now what's going to happen? If they match your values, things will go very fine. If the values don't match, then there'll be a problem. Don't put the blame on factors that are outside you. Always take responsibility and work on yourself and try to improve yourself, and there is always a possibility that keep improving yourself till such time you overcome the problem and you become successful in a particular field. And the second thing is, don't compare yourself with anybody. Everybody has different capabilities. You focus on your own capabilities. When you start focusing on others, what happens? You're losing focus on yourself. So very, very important to keep your focus on yourself, and then again, it's going to be easier to work on self-improvement.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our podcast video, a podcast where we try to dive into the extraordinary minds of people who have either broken barriers, shaped industries, or those inspire billions. Have you ever wondered that why people hop from one job to another, never really sticking around? It's like that they are running from something, but they are not sure of what. So this phenomenon is known as quiet quitting. They are quietly quitting from their jobs. So in today's podcast, we'll be learning the root cause of quitting. Is it really quitting? Or we are not making people learn how to stay grounded, how to believe in the organizational goals and values. So today we have with us Sanjay Sharma, who is the founder of Sales Pathshala. Also, he has 13 years of training young professionals on learning their true potential through quality consulting, training and implementation support. So please stay tuned, listen the podcast till last and learn what can avoid this trend of job hopping. Thank you so much. Hello sir, welcome to our show. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Sanjay Sharma and I am a coach, consultant and motivational speaker. I consider myself as a student for life, and I'm learning a lot of things about business management, and life itself is a big subject. And I help individuals and organizations achieve their potential. Now, the potential is something which is hidden within an individual or an organization. But then you need to do certain things right. First is you need to be aware of the basics. And then if you do those things right, then you can actually achieve your potential. So that's what my brief introduction.
Thank you, sir. Sir, हम आजकल देख रहे हैं कि there is a trend of quitting amongst the youngsters and the employees and working in organizations. They keep hopping from one job to another. So while you say that you are a coach and you have trained employees in learning their true potential, so आपका इस बारे में क्या सोचना है कि why is the trend so prevalent in modern organizations today? Why people keep hopping from one job to another?
Actually, the problem is not related to only one dimension.
Okay.
If you look at any employer-employee relationship, so there are two people involved in that. One party is employing the other party, and the other party is working for the employer. So employer and employee both are responsible for making it a success. Now, what happens when the employee joins an organization? They come with certain expectations, right? So certain promises are made by the employers, or there is a job description, or certain things that are supposed to be done that particular way. But when the employee starts working in that company, so the employee finds that those things are not actually happening. There's something else happening in the company. So he expected to do something which was not told to that person initially. So that's one problem which happens. So it is not all the time that the employee is not on track. Sometimes employers also are not very clear about what they want the employee to do. So the communication is not clear.
Okay.
I'll take it back a step further. You see what happens whenever there is a business which is hiring people or they're trying to grow their business. What they do is, it is just a very, very routine exercise. So not much thought is given to that process. First is you need to design the complete organization and define each and every role, what people have to do, what kind of competence you need for that role to be there. And then you go out and identify those people and communicate that this is the role, this is what you get for this role, and this is what we expect you to deliver in the end, the results or the KPIs. Now what happens? This exercise is not done. So what happens? There is a kind of chalta hai attitude. So something that was happening 5 years back, although the role has changed, the company has evolved, the things have developed beyond a point. So the expectations have changed, but the definition of the role is not changed. So when the employee joins, you're already telling an outdated story to the employee. So the story is outdated. So when the employee joins, when employee is joining, they are thinking that this is what the deal is all about. But once they join, they find the story is totally different. So that's where the conflict actually starts. That's point number one. Point number two is, if the organization is very well planned and they actually take care of these things, they do their homework right, and they do everything right, and you don't hire the right person, then also there is a problem. Because you are communicating to the person who cannot understand or is not aligned with your values. So very important to hire right people who are having the same values as that of organization. So that brings us to very, very important dimension called values. Comprise a very, very critical dimension. Now what happens when I talk to people in the market? I'm surprised that out of 100 people, 90 people or more than 90 people do not know their values. And they are as old as then the 40s, 50s. Nobody told them what their values are, and they have never cared to know what their values are. And the same is true about the organization also. The people are running businesses for 3 generations. They do not know their values. So when you do not know what your values are, and if you're supposed to hire somebody with the right values, so there is a total mismatch. You're not aware of the basic things.
Yes.
So the first step is organization has to understand their own values, and then they have to go out and hire people with the similar values. So there'll be less conflict in the relationship. So you do not know your values, so it's going to be like hit and trial. So you do not know your values, you hire somebody. Now they may or may not match your values. Now what's going to happen? If they match your values, things will go very fine. If the values don't match, then there will be a problem.
Yes.
So the people who stay around, most probably the values are matching there. And that's the science. So what happens when you do not know about this? Then you're running an experiment all the time. And then you crib that people don't come, employees are not good, and
retention rate is low.
So finally, it's about the hiring process. Hiring process and your complete design of the organization. So organization is equally responsible. Now consider the case of a big organization which is successful. They have 50,000 employees or 1 lakh employees. They know what they're doing. You see, on one hand, there is a business. They are not able to maintain a staff of 50 people. There are problems there. On the other hand, there is a company that is managing 1 lakh employees. There's a huge private sector bank in India. They have 86,000 employees. How are they managing them? And they're growing. They're profitable. And they're the leading bank of the country.
Yes.
So the answer lies in management systems that you have. Also in design process that you undertake. For example, I'll again elaborate this to you. Let's say you're constructing a house or a 5-star hotel. What do you need? You need a design first. You need to have a designer step in, a professionally qualified designer to step in and decide if this is a hotel, the entrance should be from here, the rooms have to be this side, and the lobby will be here, and there'll be, maybe whatever components are there. So well placed. Once the design is approved, then it goes for sanction to the government. Once it is approved from there, then you put the first brick.
Yes.
Don't do before that. Here what we are doing is, you wake up in the morning, I need an employee, okay fine. Call people. You start interviewing them. and you put them in job, the problem is bound to happen. That is on the organization side. Now come to the people who are hopping jobs, or they're not getting satisfied. So considering that the organization has done their homework very well, and they designed the process, and they're getting the right person in. Now, to get into the job, you have to be the right person first. So an individual can try 100 interviews, but still may not get a job. Why? Because they're not matching the requirement of the employer. So they have to develop themselves. That's where the gap is. Right? So you cannot fake it. You have to be actually having that genuine trait in you, because the HR process of those organizations is so well stitched that they will make it out when you're faking. And even if you enter the organization, you will be caught somewhere, because you will not be able to align with the systems of the organization. So it's a different breed. So what happens is that you will find that the cream organizations are very limited, and then you have the cream employees are very limited. So the people who are enjoying life as an employer, the companies which are growing as employers, what happens that they are only a very small percentage of the entire population. But then the problems with the masses. For every one employee who is successful in a career, there are maybe 100 or 1,000 people who are not able to survive in a job, and they are hopping jobs one after the other. So the challenge lies in introspection, in becoming aware of where the problem is.
Exactly.
Instead of blaming the other side, employee telling the employer that you're not right, employer telling the employee you're not, no, you have to do your homework. Employee has to do his homework. What are his values or her values? And they have to look for organizations which match their values.
Yes.
That will actually increase the success rate. That is one. On the other hand, organization also has to do the similar exercise. So very important that each person, or maybe each party in this case, understands their role.
Exactly.
And do some introspection, and they try to improve this. So there is a continuous improvement curve. It goes like this.
Yes.
So when you're improving continuously, so tomorrow will be better than today. Day after will be better than tomorrow. So that's a TQM concept.
Yes.
So you're actually growing every day. So why will the career not grow? Why the people will not stick to the organization? Why the skills will not grow? Everything will happen. Because you're aligned.
Yes.
I hope that gives you an idea.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. बहुत अच्छा आपने मतलब answer दिया to my question. I really need to understand. So many students are listening to this podcast, and even I, for example, I as an individual, for me, values is that I respect elders, I believe in God. So all of these that shape my life are my values. So while we consider this from an organizational point of view, how to identify, like many who will be listening to this podcast will be wondering that how to identify that my values align with the organization values. So what are the organizational values in your viewpoint, and what are the values that an employee should have or should be able to identify in themselves?
Actually, there are no rules, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because life is very vast and there are no limits to life. So there can be an organization that values profitability over anything else. So they say, use any means, but we need to be profitable. At the end of the day, we need to make profits. There can be a company like that. There can be a company which says, okay, profitability is fine, but not at the cost of customer experience. So customers should not be troubled. Profitability will happen if we keep our customers happy. So there's a shift in values. So you will find that the employees of both these organizations will have a different outlook towards the customers. So then you go with a demand to company which is focusing or which is valuing profitability. So they will not pay much attention to your concern. But when you go to a company which is actually saying profitability through customer satisfaction, they listen to you. So when you buy a product from the market, you must have experienced so many different types of reactions from companies.
Yes.
One company behaves, and that actually, so right values make a brand. So therefore you go to a brand, and therefore brands charge premium for their products. Why? Because they are going to ensure that they're delivering you utility for the product. You get some value out of the product.
Okay.
To elaborate this point further, for an individual, consider an example. There is a person who has to go to some other country for some business opportunity or job. Parents are not well. They'll not live for many years. And the guy knows, he says, okay, fine, parents are anyway going to die after 2-3 years. Let me go and settle in the US. Right? Why to lose opportunity? There's another guy who will say, okay, my parents are important. So what I'll do, I'll stay in India. I'll not go to US. I'll take care of them till they are there. And I will postpone my future plans till such time I can actually serve them. Right? So there's a difference in values. One guy is valuing parents and family over business or career opportunity. And the other guy is valuing business opportunity over family relationships and parents.
Yes.
So that's a difference. So that actually your values, you drive your behavior.
Okay.
So how to identify values is, it's a natural inclination.
Okay.
What you choose to do. So sometimes we feel it's an automatic choice, but then our values are driving it. So our inherent values. Let's say you go to some charitable institution, right? And you are a very rich person, and you don't believe much in charities, and I'll have a party, I'll enjoy myself, why to pay money? So you probably will not visit charity only. And there's another guy who's actually visiting charity, spending money. So maybe one guy can be a millionaire and he's not spending even $100 in a charity. There may be somebody who's earning just meager amount every month, and they're spending a huge percentage of the money on charity. Because of values. Because one guy is valuing money over welfare of humans. Right? So you will find that anything we do has its root in values. So when we understand this, then we will be confident that this is, because if you go against your values, what's going to happen? You will be disturbed.
Yes.
You will have stress, anxiety, high BP, sleepless nights, right? So that's a problem. So all these problems are happening. Why? Because people don't know their values. And most of the time, due to compulsions of society, family, employers, or anybody, you are going against your values most of the time. It may become a fashion that, if you're driving on the road, you make a mistake, but still you get out of the car and start shouting on the other guy. But that's not a value, actually. That's not like being an Indian. Right? So when you go down to values, a lot of things will change, because you will know, okay, this is not my behavior. Why I'm doing like this? This is not my value. So when you align with the values internally, you see, aligning with organization is different. That's secondary stage. First, you align yourself with your values. So what happens that you will be a very, very stable personality. That is the core of personality development. The struggle will end. You will do only what is right. So you will find now somebody comes and says, okay, fine, this is a huge bribe, do this. They will say, no, I'll not do it. Any cost. Because they're clear about the values. If you're not clear, then you say, okay, fine, money is going to lure you, but you will have sleepless nights and get into problem. You stop doing those things. So when an organization hire employees, they're looking for the values, which is going to work. Let's say there is somebody who is not going to care for the customers. Not his value, actually, to care for somebody or to really be sensitive to their needs. And you are hiring for a customer care position. And you want somebody to listen empathetically to the customers and solve their problems. So you're hiring a wrong person. And that person will not like the job, will not enjoy the job. And one day or the other, you have to fire that person out, or he will leave himself. they will get disengaged at some time. So that's where the basic problem is.
So I got your point. मुझे ये समझ भी आ गया कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में गई और मुझे पता चला कि वहाँ का जो काम करने का तरीका इज नॉट अलाइनिंग विद माय वैल्यूज, सो मुझे अंदर कहीं ना कहीं सेटिस्फेक्शन नहीं होगा. ऑफ कोर्स मैं डिसअलाइंड फील करूंगी और वो मेरी कहीं ना कहीं मेरे जॉब परफॉर्मेंस पे भी रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा. तो कहीं ना कहीं वो मैं कब तक रह लूंगी उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, तो वो हो ही जाएगा कि मैं कभी ना कभी दूसरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में स्विच कर जाऊंगी. सर नॉर्मली जो प्रोसेस होता है फॉर एंटरिंग एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज, फॉर एग्जांपल एन एचआर इनवाइट्स यू टू एन इंटरव्यू. वो कैसे होता है कि वी गेट अ जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन. जो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं जो उनको एक जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है कि आपकी ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज हैं. उसमें जो आपके जो आपको करना होता है वो मेंशन्ड होता है कि दिस इज व्हाट वी एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम यू, दिस इज आर द डिलीवरेबल्स एंड यू नीड टू डू दिस. ऑल्सो जो employers होते हैं, while we looking at the organization side, they just look at the studies and the qualifications of the individual. Maybe if they require some softwares utilization in the job role, they might look at that कि उनके पास इतनी knowledge है, technical knowledge है of using that softwares. So how to come up, because for example I got to know, even I have been an employee of this organization, so if I have been to an organization, I could only know the values of an organization while working in that organization, while talking to my director, while talking to my people who are above, in the above positions than me. कि अच्छा they work like this, these are their values, yes they prefer profitability, but yes they are even concerned about their customers and their issues as well. They tend to listen to them. So how to, तब तो फिर जॉब होपिंग होएगी अगर हमें जॉब में एक्सपीरियंस करके ही पता चल रहा है तो, क्योंकि उससे पहले हमें कैसे पता चलेगा?
देखिए, there are two levels. One is an individual must know his values or her values.
हाँ, अपनी
that is the
organization.
first. So I'm saying that part is missing today.
Yes.
So you don't know, so you cannot actually check the value of the organization also. So that part is actually missing.
True.
So when I do not know my values, how do I know that whether my values align with a particular company or not?
Yes.
So there's no way I can check it out.
Okay.
That is what. So assuming that the individual knows about
Yes.
his or her values.
जी.
Now what happens? It's not rocket science. You go to the company's website. You have interaction with certain people who are linked with that company. You'll get to know about it. They will tell you.
Okay.
It's not so difficult. Maybe you find somebody on LinkedIn or some other places,
who is working on in
or
the
somebody in your network through whom you can actually learn about that company. They'll tell you. And you have got certain websites today who
Trustpilot.
A lot of companies are there who actually will publish their surveys about companies, their ratings, employee ratings, what they do, what people say about them. Websites like Glassdoor and Ambition, a lot of places are there. So if you go to Google, read certain reviews, you will get to know what the company is all about.
Nice.
And most of the companies
I think ये बहुत important learning होगी जो बच्चे इस podcast को सुन रहे हैं कि while you apply to any organization, it is very important to know the internal environment of that organization. So before applying, you can go to all these websites named by Sir, like Trustpilot and Glassdoor and Ambition. So all these websites can give you a gist about the quality of the internal environment that is existing in the organization. And if you can see that the values of the organization align with your values. So for example, if you want to be valued, and if you go through the reviews and see that the employees there feel that they are not valued, then you can get a gist that maybe the organization is not for you. So it is very important to get a gist about the internal environment before applying to any organization, because this is better than job hopping. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add something more in this. Customer reviews also important. If you go to Google or some other site which gives customer reviews, you will get to know what the company is all about. And most of the companies, when they talk about their organization, so they declare their values there. So if you go to some good company, they always have a values about us section. So they list their values. So read those values, get an idea.
तो फिर सभी हैं कि we value customers. मुझे लगता है वो Glassdoor वाला चीज is more implicable because that gives the reality check. Because websites पे and annual reports में तो हर company ही लिखती है we value customer, we value our employees.
देखिए रिव्यूज भी हमेशा रिलायबल नहीं होते एक्चुअली, तो you have to use a judgment also. You cannot, you see what I'm saying is that you have to be so much aware that you should not be a pawn in the hands of somebody else. So I will decide based on reviews. So if the reviews are not, if reviews are manipulated, example, so it can influence my decision.
True.
So I need to go beyond reviews as well. So I read reviews, but I use my mind. It's like, very recently somebody came to my site and put a fake review. I objected and it was removed after 1 week. It happens.
It happens.
So probably people or competition or anybody, people can play dirty games actually sometimes. So reviews may not tell the truth every time. So I would say, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't believe anything. Don't believe the values of the company that the company is saying. But I see if the company is running pan-India or in 5 countries or maybe in 20 countries and they have 20,000 employees, then they will not put wrong values there because they have accountability. So you can judge that. Or there's a company that is actually growing.
Yes.
So they cannot be so negligent about the ethics and code of conduct, which is important for an organization. So that's very important part. If a company is bankrupt ethically, so they will not sustain for a long time. As they say, you can fool some people sometime.
Yes, yes, yes.
But you cannot fool everybody every time.
True.
So maybe their success can be flash in the pan for some time, but then if it's sustaining, if it's becoming an Infosys or maybe whatever company you name, so there's definitely something to it.
True.
So let's say you're joining Infosys, for example, go read their values. If you feel that they expect you, like Narayan Murthy openly talks about how many hours a week you need to work. That's very clear declaration from them. If it suits you, go and work. If it doesn't suit you, don't apply there. If you are somebody who cannot take work from, you want to have a finish line. My work should end at 6 p.m. in the evening. It can start at 10 a.m. and finish at 6 p.m. So maybe that particular company which is expecting employees to spend more time on the job, you should not be applying there. You should actually, or there is a company which says, okay, fine, work from home, enjoy life, we don't care. Maybe that's more suitable for you. Maybe there is a role that actually suits your capabilities. You can go for that company, actually.
Understood. So, sir, while in the beginning you said that दोनों चीजें हो सकती हैं कि ये भी सिनेरियो हो सकता है कि एम्प्लॉयज आर नॉट एबल टू गिव अ पॉजिटिव कल्चर इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसकी वजह से वो जॉब हॉपिंग हो रही है. सो अगर आप बताना चाहें व्हाइल यू आर अ कोच कि कुछ ऐसी स्ट्रैटेजीज जो हम मैनेजर्स को या सीईओज को रेकमेंड कर सकते हैं फॉर फॉस्टरिंग अ गुड एनवायरनमेंट इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिससे रिटेंशन रेट्स बढ़ सके.
देखिए, फर्स्ट इज द क्लैरिटी.
Okay, like we said.
They need to be clear of what they want to do, what kind of people they need. So they need to think through that. It is not that you get up in the morning, you say, okay, fine, do this, do that. No, plan it out. Spend some time over it, sleep over it, and say, okay, fine, this is what I want to do. Discuss with the team, take all diverging opinions, and then finally crystallize your plan. And plan is then sacrosanct. It's not that you're going to change it every now and then. So this is what I need. Because today you hire somebody and tomorrow your mind changes. Okay, no, I made a mistake. Let me fire this guy. No. What happens when you hire and fire somebody? You're actually sending negative waves to the entire organization. That this is the company. If they can do to one person,
they can do to anybody.
Anybody. So actually you're sending a wrong message. You may not be like that, but then finally your actions are actually speaking that language. So very important that you be very subtle about things. Plan it out. I think designing is very, very important. That is number one. Number two is then define the role for which you're hiring.
Okay.
And also define the competencies that are required for that role. If you hire somebody to play tabla and that person doesn't know how to play tabla, example, So you're going to fire only, or you should be prepared to give them 1 year to learn tabla, which not many companies can do. So maybe you need competency in a particular skill. You need to be clear that this is the skill we want, and you must have a system to ensure that the people coming have that skill, right? So you actually one by one you have a checklist. You're ticking off what all you require, and once the requirements are met, then you take the person in, and that's the job of HR. So job of HR is designing a job description, and then conducting certain tests and interviews, discussions to arrive at a checklist that this is what we are expecting a person to have. And if let's say 10 people come for the interview, who are the best guys in this? And then you shortlist. Then you again fine tune that who is the best person for you. Maybe in other things, can they go that extra mile when you need them? Are they open to that? And is their past behavior demonstrates that? Are they coming from companies where they have actually survived 2-3 years? So they must have these qualities, otherwise they would not survive.
Yes. तो हमने यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज की बात करी रिज्यूमे की, क्योंकि वहाँ पे दिख जाता है कि जो पर्सन है उसकी वैल्यूज क्या है. इज द पर्सन इन द पास्ट जॉब भी वो ऐसी जॉब हॉपिंग करता आ रहा है, तो कहीं ना कहीं एक हाई चांसेस है.
You raised a very valid point. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'd like to add something here.
Yes.
Sometimes people fudge their CVs. So just in order to impress the HR, or they want to have some experience gap, or they want to get into a particular company, so they like to show some experience from a company where they've actually not worked. So I think that should not be done, because what happened, I can give you a real example on this. In an MNC, there's a CEO who joined, and he was fired after 6 months.
Okay.
Because the information that he gave in the CV wasn't correct.
Okay.
So I would say that refrain from this. Put only the exact thing. If you worked in a company, only mention that company.
Okay.
That is one.
Okay.
And CVs today are gone are the days when people were blindly, working on CVs. Today CVs are verified. Each institution can be verified. There are specialized agencies working in the market, and they can dig out everything about the right from the education to the experience to the family background to any damn thing you want. They can actually bring it on paper. So very important to be truthful. So that's again a value. So we are talking. So once you learn this trick that okay fine, if I want to get an IT company, let me show IT. So you have 5 resumes actually. For IT job you want an IT company resume. Then for FMCG job you have FMCG company. So I think that doesn't work. So what I would recommend here is that be very honest, and from very beginning be very clear on what you want to do, and then stick to it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
सो मैं ऐसा वहीं पे ही थी कि जो जॉब इसे आपने कहा वो ये बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट था कि बी ट्रूथफुल बाय योर प्रिपेयरिंग योर रिज्यूमे. कि हमने भी कई बार देखा है. फॉर एग्जांपल अपने पास की अगर बात करूं तो मैंने भी एक जॉब इंटरव्यू दिया था. आई वाज सिलेक्टेड. There were 3 rounds. I was selected in 2 rounds. The third round, I was pretty sure that I'll be selected. But in the third round, it was said to me that your previous job profile does not match the job profile that we are offering here. So they were not interested in maybe training the person. That what means, because they want somebody who has already learned everything about the job role and just comes in and starts working. And that happens in most of the organization, and I believe that is the reason people tend to add false things. For example, अगर मैं उसी रिज्यूमे में, आप बात सुनना सर एक बार, अगर मैं उसी रिज्यूमे में कोई भी कंपनी में अपना जॉब रोल, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं रिसर्च राइटर हूँ और मैं वहां पे लिख दूँ, जैसे मैं सेल्स में जाना चाहती हूँ, तो जब मैं लिख दूंगी सेल्स, आई हैव डन द सेल्स इन द सेम कंपनी, मैंने जबकि हाँ, क्योंकि we also used to communicate with clients, and maybe sometimes we tend to say them that do you have more work, so मैं लिख दूंगी कि I did sales there, but I haven't done. So people, I believe, tend to say deceptions. They add false things in resumes in order to get selected in the organization. Of course, that would be get caught. But I think this also indicates a loophole in the hiring strategy. Because, for example, I have been a research writer. How can you claim that I could not be a person good in sales? Maybe in the beginning days I won't be able to do sales as much as a sales manager, but maybe later, maybe in 6 months. So kahin na kahin, sir, you're very right. But sometimes I believe that there's a flaw in the hiring strategy also. That comes to second point. I was saying कि अगर मैं जॉब हॉपिंग कर रही हूँ तो कहीं ना कहीं वो रिज्यूमे में भी नेगेटिव आएगा कि मेरे एम्प्लॉयर को पता चलेगा कि भैया अगर वो वहां पे भी नहीं, चलो एक कंपनी में नहीं रुकी 6 महीना, दूसरी कंपनी में भी 3 महीना रुकी, तो यहाँ तो क्या ही रुक लेगी ना. तो कहीं ना कहीं ये भी एक नेगेटिव पॉइंट रिज्यूमे में आ जाता है. आई बिलीव
आपके देखिए 2-3 पॉइंट्स हैं इसमें.
जी.
ये पहला तो है कि फ्लॉ इन द हायरिंग स्ट्रेटजी.
जी.
You see, what happens that the people who are running a company
जी.
and the bigger the company, they're very clear about what they're doing.
True.
And they've experienced, they must have tried different people and it has not worked for them because it's money for them actually.
Yeah.
Money and opportunity cost. Why? Because they're going to pay salaries to the people who are hired, and the productivity will also suffer if they do not match up to the job requirement. Now, what happened? It has a very scientific base. I'll tell you, it's not a flaw. It's a scientific base.
Okay.
So that you will be more aware of this.
Okay.
What happens that, let's say, if there is somebody
जी.
who is going out in the market,
Okay.
male or female,
Okay.
looking for a job.
Okay.
Now, you land up in a job. It's an accounts job. It's a computer programmer job. It's a sales job. It's a research job, production job, or anything. So what happens that you start with ABCD of the profile. Now you've already done some work in that profile. Let's say you go into production. You work 2 years in production. Now you say, I don't enjoy production and I like to do accounts. You go for an accounts job. Now the challenge is that you are not prepared to start from A, B, C, D there. You said ABCD already done, but you're done in production, you're not done in accounts. Accounts, you're a fresher only. So people are not willing to
make me learn ABCD of production of accounts.
No, but they have to join at that level, no? They're carrying that 2 year. It's zero for me. When they say it's a 2 year experience,
it's zero for you.
It's actually zero. So the expectation, so applying for a 2 year experience, because the 2 year experience in production, I expect somebody to be more proficient in my processes, because they will need less training because they've done that kind of exercise earlier.
मैं समझ गई कि for example I have applied for a job in maybe in sales में और मैं कभी sales में नहीं है, somebody who is there who already has a 2 year experience in sales, वो of course वो उसको prefer करेंगे, मुझको नहीं करेंगे.
अब मैं आपको बताता हूँ 2 साल नहीं 5 साल की बात करते हैं. आपने 5 साल रिसर्च किया.
जी.
Somebody is saying 5 years experience in sales.
हाँ, तो of course उसे prefer होगा.
तो उसमें flaw नहीं है.
But हाँ, but ठीक है, हो सकता है, पर मुझे कई बार ऐसा लगता है कि जो ट्रेनिंग का एस्पेक्ट है वो भी कम होता जा रहा है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में. दे वांट समबडी हु इज रेडी टू वर्क फ्रॉम द वेरी फर्स्ट डे एंड दे आर नॉट, और वो नहीं तैयार है किसी को सिखाने में.
I tell you, no, I was working for a bank. That is almost 26 years back.
Okay.
Was managing a team as a profit center head. I had 100 people under me.
जी.
My boss. And I am driving certain things because I always believed in training can transform people.
Okay.
Things can happen, but not everybody thinks like that.
जी.
So they want profitability. क्या हुआ आज क्या हुआ सीख रहे हैं.
हाँ.
किसके पास टाइम है आज क्या हुआ. तो that's the point.
जी.
So
ये भी एक वैल्यू ही है सर.
नहीं, वो उसको समझना पड़ेगा. वो आपकी जॉब की रिक्वायरमेंट है. अभी उस पर भी हम आ जाएंगे. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सब्जेक्ट एक्चुअली. सो यू नो व्हाट ही सेड कि संजय, वी आर नॉट इन द बिजनेस ऑफ चेंजिंग एटीट्यूड्स ऑफ पीपल. वी आर इन द बिजनेस ऑफ सेलिंग आवर प्रोडक्ट्स. सो आइदर पीपल कैन सेल इट or we get people who know how to sell. We cannot train beyond a point.
Beyond a point.
training companies will do, but to a point. Let's say you are a BTech and you know Python and you know some other languages, fine, we hire you. You are tested, you are proven, you're in a small application also, you cleared technical round, everything is done, you are hired into the job. Now, company will train you on its systems, and you, because you're already here, you will catch it up and you'll start performing in specific duration of time. Now, if somebody is not BTech,
जी,
तो 4 साल का BTech तो कंपनी कराएगी नहीं उसको.
वो एक सब फाउंडेशनल चीज हो गई. True, I get your point. वो मैं समझ गई, but that is a different specialization. मतलब एक stream ही अलग हो गई. But I was more talking about the training aspects wherein you need to learn a skill.
देखिए स्किल अलग है. मैं आपको क्या बोल रहा हूँ ना कि एक डोमेन अलग हो जाती है.
जी जी, समझ गई.
For example, there may be a very good actor. They may not prove to be a very good producer.
True.
Some director was not an actor but became a director very well. Somebody was a script writer, could not act. Somebody became a
producer because they could not act.
So, maybe what happens, certain things, things will fall in their place sometime. So nature has a very fantastic balancing act. You will get what you deserve in the end.
True.
So there is a rule also, no? Which says that if you spend 10,000 hours doing something, you will become best in the world in that particular field.
Ji.
If you are singing 10,000 hours, you will become one of the best singers in the world.
True.
You acted for 10,000 hours. If you are actually playing cricket for 10,000 hours, so that is very important system.
True.
So somebody is spending 2,000 hours here, 2,000 hours here, 2,000 hours here. So jack of all, master of none. And then he expects कि मुझे अपना ये level पे चाहिए.
I learned something new today. Sir, एक last question है कि बहुत सारे बच्चे इस पॉडकास्ट को सुन रहे होंगे जो बस अभी उन्होंने बस अपना कॉलेज पास आउट किया है या मास्टर्स बस अभी कंप्लीट करी है एंड नाउ दे आर रेडी टू एंटर द जॉब मार्केट. So how, since you are a life coach, you are a motivational speaker, you are a corporate coach, so उन सब के लिए आप एक बताइए कि how to find their strengths and weaknesses and also the job role that matches their potential. How to find that?
Actually, this is a very tricky question, and many people struggle with this question for their life. People keep hopping jobs, so this is also whether this is for me or not.
जी जी.
But there's a very simple answer for this question. As we know that each individual is unique. So there's nobody like you on this earth. Believe in that. And identify what you enjoy doing. The critical test of enjoyment is that something, when you start doing that activity, time will fly. You will not know where the time has gone actually. So that means you're enjoying that activity. So whatever you enjoy, then try to develop on that and come to a level where it becomes
you mastered it.
Where it comes to a point where you are accepted by the world as an authority in that subject. So very important is to do what you enjoy, because that will help you in sticking to a job also.
Yes.
Even if you do a business, you will excel in that because you are not bound by any pressure from outside.
True.
And every opportunity is inside you. So you have to understand this, that when you are actually working on yourself, improving yourself, it is possible to achieve anything. You can decide what you want to do based on your unique capabilities, and you can develop that and become a legend. And that is true. If you take any cricketer who has done very well, any actor who's done well, any other field, any athlete or any singer, legendary people are there in all the fields. So they had that capability, and then finally they decided to work on that.
Exactly.
So that hard work is critical, and there is no substitute for hard work. Hard work has to be done, but once you're working on the strength and something that you enjoy, it's going to take you a long way.
True. थैंक यू सर. सर बहुत ही इंसाइटफुल पॉडकास्ट रहा था. एक लास्ट मैसेज हमारे बच्चों के लिए जो ये पॉडकास्ट सुन रहे हैं. हम बहुत चीज़ों के बारे में बात करिए, अबाउट वैल्यूज़, अबाउट रिज्यूमे, अबाउट जॉब हॉपिंग. एक लास्ट मैसेज उनके लिए, ताकि उनको पता चल सके कि what are the actual things that will guide their path in finding the right job and avoiding the trend of job hopping.
That's a very, very important question that you asked. The three things that you should do is, one is introspect on whatever you do and always try to find reasons with your own action, whether you achieve something, don't achieve something, whether you're successful, not successful. Don't put the blame on factors that are outside you. Always take responsibility and work on yourself and try to improve yourself, and there is always a possibility that keep improving yourself till such time you overcome the problem and you become successful in a particular field. And second thing is, don't compare yourself with anybody. Everybody has different capabilities. You focus on your own capabilities. When you start focusing on others, what happens? You're losing focus on yourself. So very, very important to keep your focus on yourself, and then again, it's going to be easier to work on self-improvement. And third, and the most important, is that you need to have positivity, and you must be looking at the complete cosmos as a family, and you need to understand that you are here to contribute something, and whatever good you can do, you should do that. And with that message, I'd like to thank all the audience for being there with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was incredible to have you.
Thank you.
कितना कुछ सीखने को मिला आज पॉडकास्ट से. So basically we could learn that जहाँ हम खुश हैं वहाँ पे there are chances of staying more. And this is applicable everywhere. So while you try for job opportunities and look for organizations to apply, we learned that it is very important to ensure that your values align with the organization's values. क्योंकि वहाँ पे काम करना आसान होगा, because your thought process will match with the employees working there and even the senior management. So it's very important to look for customer reviews, employee reviews before you apply to any job. Also, before that, it's very important that you are aware about your own values. Only then you'll be able to identify that your values match with the organizational values or not. So, इंट्रोस्पेक्शन बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आपको ऐसी कंपनी में काम करना है that prefers profitability over the benefits of customers, or you want an organization that contributes towards the society and then thinks of profitability, or give equal importance to both. So that's your choice, your call. Identify this, do introspection, and then apply for job opportunities. Also, it's very important to be truthful while you make your resumes. It's very important that you, because gone are those days when the information written in resumes was not verified. Organizations do it today. So it's very important that you include everything that you have done with utmost honesty, and that will also depict your value as being honest and loyal towards the company. I hope the entire podcast was insightful and entertaining for all of you. Please stay tuned for further videos. I'll be coming up with more guests every week. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.